What's up, Lucky Gamers? It's Lucky Lux, and today we're going to be talking about Higan Eruthyll, which is going to be dropping in a few hours. So today we're going to be talking about a tier list for the characters that you want to look out for before you get started. I know that re-rolling is going to be a little difficult, but of course there are some ways if you use multiple accounts and stuff like that. I'm not going to be doing a lot of that because I honestly just want to play the game since this is a soft launch and then it'll be a global launch. So I'll probably just have 2 accounts. So we're just going to kind of go into the game, but I'm going to give you guys the information for those of you who are curious, right? This could also help you for when the game officially launches. And if anything changes, we'll update this list as well. But let's go ahead and get into it. All right, guys. So the tier list that I'm using as a reference is from Eruthyll Wiki. If you go to the Higan Eruthyll site and you go to hashtag wiki in the Discord, there's actually people who are updating this. So I'm giving all credit to them for this information. Just basically giving them more shout outs. And I looked at the characters, I looked at everything, I've looked at different tier lists, and I agree with a lot of what they have to say. And based off how I look at the characters, this is very similar. So since there's a wiki already out there, I'm going to encourage and push people to use that wiki because it's a great resource and they have a lot of stuff on the site that I'm going to use as well to help push them. Going to be speaking with the wiki mods and people who are in charge of it, just letting them know, it's like, hey guys, I'm going to be shouting you out multiple times. So anyways, so we're going to start off with the characters on the tier list. So we're going to kind of start at the bottom, work our way up, because characters at the top are probably, or typically, going to be a lot more difficult to obtain, right? So, tier 3, which is, again, special for some, honorable mentions. This is kind of like bottom of the tier list. They were good enough to be put on here, but there are characters who are better. So we have Miria. She's a DPS. She deals damage while inflicting debuffs. If your build is charactered around encroaching cold, she is a must-have. So this is, again, characters that are like for specific builds, right? There's a character that is like that. Typically people put them a little lower because if you're not building for that, then you're never going to use the character. So that's Miria. Asa is a healer as a support who provides AoE effects. She can be very useful in the early stage. AoE healers, we already know everyone loves AoE healers from every game we've all played. Sella, she provides physical shield. Here, they're like, hey, she gives physical shield. That's all you need to know. Mamo, a tank in Animo Hoplite. If you are lucky enough, she'll be able to tank and deal much more damage in combat. This is another character to look at. And Ume, she can knock over and interrupt enemies, making her the go-to choice when you're looking for a tank for a Hydro lineup. And again, they brought out these characters because these are characters that are specific for different situations. Like, they come with like a kind of asterisk next to them. It's like, it's good to use them in certain situations if you're doing this, basically. All right, so these characters are going to be in tier 2, as it says, useful in mini. So these are going to be the characters that are probably, if you would say, around like B rank, right? Where it's like they're average. It's like you can use them in different situations, but of course there are better options, right? So Finish is a DPS, a Pyro Ranger who deals AoE damage in a small area. The massive damage output can also serve to support allies, but she isn't that useful when handling a single enemy. There you go. Any boss situations, single target situations, not that great. But if you're handling multiple targets, right, then that's what you go for, right? Same as Flynn in Eversoul, right? You could probably think about her as that. Issa DPS, the greatest crowd control character, also the only character who can draw enemies close and inflict many debuffs on them. So if you have a specific team that is needing characters to get up close with some crowd control, there you go, right? So again, think about that when you're looking at these characters. If you're wanting to build your teams, like really pay attention to their skills. And this is how certain characters can be maybe low for you on one person's tier list, but high for another, right? Chlor, the primary Animo DPS, she deals AoE damage in a very large area. Furthermore, it is very easy to star her up. So if it's very easy for her to star up, she's probably going to be great in the beginning, but fall off, because that's typically how it goes for characters that you like start off with, right? Any characters that are like main character or anything kind of fall off, but hey, you get an easy character to start up. Nuno, a healer, the primary Animo character, she reduces costs and provides shield for teammates. Note her ultimate form, Flores, is currently ranked tier 1 as well. Okay, interesting. So there are characters who have alternative forms. You will see that there's a couple characters on here that have that, and when we go live, we'll be able to look at that as well. Um, so anybody who can lower costs and provide shield is awesome because again, the skill bar has costs that are associated with it, similar to Blue Archive, right? So this could be somebody who is very useful for us early on if you can't get everybody at the top, or you're just needing some of the characters to fill in spaces. Armand, a Pyro Guardian who is good at tanking damage and even better at dealing damage. So kind of like a bruiser tank, right? Nothing too much to say about that. Basil, this dude looks sick. Cannot wait to get him, honestly, just because of the look. But a 3-star Hydro Hoplite with great CC abilities. Euphoria, the female protagonist, and the main Pyro tank who has shield by default. Note her alternative form, Abyssal Star, is currently ranked as tier 1. And then Nuno Paris and Animo Guardian. If you are lucky enough, she can make it through a fight without taking any damage. This is Nuno's alternative form, who currently ranked as tier 1 as well, right? So, and when they say if you're lucky enough, you can make it through a fight without taking any damage, those are like specific situations. So, but if we get these characters, we got to see that, but that's definitely not something that you want to rely on, right? All right, so tier 1. These are characters that you would say is an A, right? They're pretty much going to be overall powerful, kind of OP, not broken, but kind of OP, right? So Queen, a versatile assassin who deals a considerable amount of damage, most likely going to be single target, right? I'm just going to call him Sim. The only character who can summon minions, decent AoE damage. I love characters who can summon, honestly. They are pretty cool. Summoners are awesome because they give extra targets that the enemy has to fight. And there's nothing wrong with that. In what game is that? Arknights. Having summoners was also always one of my favorite things. So seeing summoners in this game is honestly refreshing. Follette, DPS, an Animo caster who deals AoE damage in a large area. That damage goes up even higher if there are allies covering her. So it seems like you want to have a nice front line to protect her. See, Black is a DPS, deals AoE damage in a small range and inflicts encroaching cold to follow up with massive damage. So we talked about a character earlier that was in tier 3 that was needed for encroaching cold. So here's another character here that is part of the encroaching cold. So think about that, right? If you're looking at a strong character for that group. A 3-star Animo Ranger, Moetsu. Yeah, let's just go with that. A 3-star Animo Ranger who can provide many stacks of wind breath to our allies, thus making her subsidiary DPS and useful. So kind of, so they put sub DPS because she's kind of supporty, but once you stack her, she can start doing some damage. So somebody look out for if you're doing an Animo team. Rita, she's a sub DPS as well. A 3-star Power Ranger who can give buffs to allies and deal massive damage to a single enemy. Take note, single enemy. So in certain AoE fights, maybe not the best. Hopefully her buffs can help her in that, but she's typically going to be a single target user. Roko, this adorable girl, provides a steady flow of healing to everyone and ultimate energy at a reasonable cost. She's a healer. That is interesting, to provide ultimate energy and a steady flow of healing. So it seems like it's going to be continuous each turn, which is nice to have. Liv, she's a healer. A 3-star Hydro, a Duatrix. Those are like kind of like the warriors. I'm probably going to be calling them warriors a lot because I don't want to say this A word too much. I know a healer in game, but it's just a warrior. All-around support who can inflict many stacks of encroaching cold. So again, another character who can be used for encroaching cold teams, especially ones that can build up the stacks. Gildan, a tank, a 3-star Umbra Guardian. With her by your side, you will always feel safer. She must have some type of mitigation or something to help the other members. They didn't really give a lot for her, so we have to wait to see exactly what she can do. Caesar, a 3-star Lumino Guardian who can tank the damage and heal allies. Her double forms make her look cool, so she apparently has some type of form that she does when she's with a form swap. But a tank that can also heal is really good. In Eversoul, we have Adrian for that, right? And people love her, so take note of that. Shiro, she's a tank a Hydro Guardian whose unique deflection trajectory can come in handy in various situations. So if that works how I'm thinking, if it can deflect attacks, this is really good, especially if you're using a single tank situation where all the enemies are attacking her, right? And you have a decent healer, you can reflect back damage, which is pretty useful. Screamer, as a support, can heal multiple allies, silence enemies, and applies attack speed bonuses, making her both a support and a healer. In short, she provides a great support. This character might move up to a higher tier if they've done anything to her, because attack speed, healing, silence is insane. So I'm gonna be looking at her because that's an amazing support right there. So take note of her, Screamer. She could be probably moved up a tier depending on who you're talking to. And I would probably, because that sounds insane. All right, so this is tier 0. These are characters that are pretty much OP, or they have something that makes them very unique, right? So Ldplayer, DPS, the only character that inflicts Infirm, and she deals massive burst damage, making her the greatest single target DPS in the current patch. Okay, well, there you go. That's probably your boss killer right there, based on what they're saying. And she provides she inflicts a debuff that only she can do at the moment. So we'll have to take note of her. Surcelit DPS, the main power DPS who deals a lot of critical damage. So if you can get some crit chance, you got crit damage, you can probably crit the mess out of bosses. Yori, the main Hydro DPS who deals a ridiculous amount of damage to enemies inflicted with max stacks of encroaching cold. And we already saw there was a bunch of tanks, supports, and everything who are good for that team. So you can build your whole team around Yori. And then Euphoria, Abyssal Star, whom they were talking about earlier, a 3-star Umber caster that's handy as she provides buffs, inflicts debuffs, and deals decent damage. This is the alternative for Euphoria, who currently ranked T2. So the characters that honestly stood out to me the most, though, based off this tier list, is Ldplayer. If she can inflict her own debuff and does huge single target, I would love that for boss fights. Screamer, the support that she has here, I need to see how that works. As of a tank, most likely the deflection tank here, healer tank, and then of course my boy Basil, just because, right? Need to have that. So those are the characters that kind of stood out to me. But when the game comes out, I'm sure they're going to update this, and we'll talk about that as well. This is kind of a before launch tier list to have these characters in your mind to kind of think about, right? And as I am preparing for the stream, just make sure to let me know in the comment section what you guys think about these characters. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, because I will be streaming tonight. I will try to stream on both YouTube and Twitch, but if anything else, I'm gonna be streaming on YouTube because that's where I'm gonna be doing a lot of this content. But guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. You lucky gamers, have a good one. Lucky Lucks out.